it.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquart of the Marquart Law Firm at marquartlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquart. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have municipal, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. So we're here to help you discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And today we're talking about Crime Stoppers with Daniel Palmer, who's a partner at Marquart Law Firm, and Bodo Knochenhauer, who is a president of Crime Stoppers San Antonio. And we just finished telling you about a fundraising event at Bolero on October 8th. From 6 to 8. Pizza, soda, and bowling. And you can go to SA Crime Stoppers if you want to sign up for that. We'd love to see you and bowl with you for that. We talked about the history. We talked about how you got involved in Crime Stoppers. Now I want to know a little bit more detail about the organization. You talked about the funding and the structure of Crime Stoppers. Let's talk about how it works. I mean, most of us, if we don't live under a rock, have seen Call Crime Stoppers on TV, during the news, or we heard it on the radio. And you mentioned that people that do call with a tip, they're anonymous. Mm-hmm. What else do we need to know about how that all operates? Are you part of the police department, or how do you get information to the police?
That's a great question, Todd, and that's an important distinction I'd like to make right off the start. Is that no, we're independent of the police force. We're independent of lawmakers or judiciary. We are run by local citizens here in San Antonio. And how Crime Stoppers works is that if you don't trust the police, that's fine. You can call us. You'll stay anonymous. If you don't want the money, or you want to stay anonymous, or you're afraid of retribution, call us, because you will stay anonymous. And that's really how successful Crime Stopper programs are really throughout the world now, is that people can kind of understand that. Is that you will always stay anonymous with us, and there's that's actually gone up through the Supreme Court, and we will not disclose any person who gives us a tip. So
okay, this is Talk Law Radio. We're talking about Crime Stoppers. You can call and ask a question, 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867. My question is, do you ever get junk tips?
We do. We get a lot of junk tips. We have an answering service that answers most of our calls. We're also linked in with, let's say, SAPD. We do have police coordinators that are working directly with us and us with them. And if there is a real hot tip, if you will, that gets directly to the Crime Stopper coordinator with SAPD, who's ever on the case at that point, who's ever working at that time. So, yeah, but it's really something that they kind of whittle those down to where if it is that important, they will make sure they get a hold of the officer.
Okay.
So, and when you do call, you'll be given a tip number, a case number, and that's how you can call back in to identify yourself. So you never call in, you never identify your name. You always stay anonymous.
If you want the money, you have to go pick it up, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So does everybody that makes a tip get money?
No, not everybody gets a tip. We pay anywhere from $0 up to maybe say $300 up to $5,000, and $5,000 is at the top end is really for capital murders. That's where we pay on the top end. If you call the police, you identify yourself, and then you call us and you've actually been identified, then you're not anonymous, and we can't pay that tip. So in order for Crime Stoppers to work in that regard, you do have to call us first.
Okay.
So
I think I have this conception. I don't know if I learned this or if it's an actual fact. Maybe it's a myth that your tip has to lead to a conviction in order for you to get paid. Is that true?
correct. In conviction or indictment.
Okay. So if it's just a bad tip that, doesn't lead to anything, you don't pay for that tip.
Correct.
Okay. Is calling on the phone the only way to make a tip?
No, you can actually use your phone, and you could tip online also. So texting or online
On your website?
on the website.
And so what's the number if somebody has a tip right now?
It's 210-224-STOP. 210-224-STOP.
Okay. I read on the website about the P3 Tips app.
Yes,
So there's an app also.
there's an app also. And that leads us into our Safe School program, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but we started our Safe School program quite some time ago now. And we're in probably majority of local San Antonio school districts. But the Safe School program has led to some really amazing types of interventions throughout San Antonio.
What's it for? What's the program do?
Well, what our program does with using the P3 app, and the kids are able to download that on their phones, they're able to submit tips anonymously through bullying, crimes, drugs, and one of our big issues now is mental health. So if a child is or a student is talking about suicide, that kind of thing, and a tip does come through, we're able to get that through to our local law enforcement, school law enforcement. And we actually have had 3 cases now where we've had an intervention, and I feel maybe even saved lives.
That's
3
awesome.
students' lives, yeah. Amazing.
And that's what really had spoken to me, when I first got on the board. I wanted to be on the board anyways, but I felt a real connection to it when I saw how much was being done within the school systems. Having a child that just entered middle school, that really spoke to me. And, I feel safer. I feel like my son is safer because of this organization. It's really incredible.
Do you let him have a phone so that he can use the app?
So he has a phone, but it's very limited on what he can use it for. But we actually did teach him how to use it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great.
There's something else that I read about that Crime Stoppers does for kids and for older people. Some kind of fingerprinting identification kit
Yes.
in case they get lost.
We do have those free. We can hand those out to the public. One of our great board members, Dwayne Cruz, he actually implemented that. And it's a great little brochure there where you will fingerprint your child. You put all the important information that you need to have on your kid, because if something were to happen and your child goes missing, then you think of needing that ID kit.
Right.
Oh, well, I don't have this. I don't have that. And to have that on file or in your house it would really help the police dramatically.
And you can download this brochure on SA Crime Stoppers website. I looked at it, and it's got all the questions that the police would ask you, like how tall is he, or what color hair does she have. You write all that down so that if your child is missing or your granddaddy's missing, you can just hand that over, and then
Absolutely.
you can put their fingerprints on there, not for the purposes of being registered with the police or the state, but just so you keep it at your house and if or until you need it.
Correct.
So that's kind of neat. My heart is for older people, and so if my granddaddy was lost, I would be very upset about that. And sometimes when I'm driving on the highway, I see the silver alert. And I met with somebody just the other day who was telling me that her husband had to be silver alerted, and the police found him, and he was confused and didn't know how to get home. Well, let's talk about some more about Crime Stoppers. Is Crime Stoppers even effective? One of my friends asked me, I was telling him I was going to do this show, and he says, I don't know if it even works. And so for his benefit, other people probably have the same question. How many criminals do you catch?
I did bring some stats on that specifically because I wanted to know myself too. And I have stats up to last year, the end of last year. We've received over 43,000 tips. We've made over 1,800 arrests. We've cleared over 2,700 cases. And we don't always need to get the credit for the cases. We're just happy that the crimes are being solved. Some tip would lead to something else that we don't get credit for, but SAPD or Bexar County, or I think there's 70 different law enforcement agencies throughout San Antonio, throughout the city that work through us, that use the information. We disperse the tips and get those crimes solved. So we've gotten weapons, and that's a big thing we haven't mentioned yet, but we've actually gotten, I believe, 3 or 4 loaded handguns now out of schools.
Goodness.
And it's not something that you hear about every day, but you hear about the disaster, the Uvalde and the Columbine, but you don't hear about some of the success stories. And we have gotten some loaded handguns out of schools before anything happened.
Because the kids use that app?
Because the kids use the app, absolutely.
Wow, that's great. Yep. Because, I mean, if they go tell their teacher, then there might be some sort of retribution against them for doing that. But if they can do it anonymously, then the offender doesn't know.
Yeah, and that leads us to our drug dogs, our dogs that we've actually been able to donate. Actually, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of set it up more for you to go into the details,
okay.
Bodo. But yes, that was another thing that I had learned about very early on in joining the board. It's 2 dogs, correct? That have been trained for different purposes, through a company and that are used by Crime Stoppers, and Crime Stoppers purchased these dogs. One of them is more of a kind of support animal.
Comfort.
Comfort, yeah. And the other dog, Scotty, right?
Scotty.
Now he's trained to, actually, what is he trained to be able to sniff out other than drugs? Is it like
weapons?
Weapons, yeah.
Weapons. And I actually went on a site visit with Scotty, and he's a stud. There's no other way to put it. He's an amazing animal. Actually, SAPD borrows him at time because he's so successful in what he does. But he can actually detect the different weapons that would be in schools. And he actually did help us get a weapon out of school, which was pretty amazing. And what's amazing to me is that when he is alert and when he is working, the officer that is handling him also has a weapon, but he's not smelling that weapon.
That is interesting.
Which how acute, how amazing is his sense that he's singling that one out, and he's just going ahead and smelling for the other weapons that may or may not be in the classroom. So, yeah, that's really one of our big programs that are success stories, I think, going forward, because the kids now are using these vape pens, and it's really throughout the whole city, and it's really a shame in that they're high or whatever you want to call it with these vape pens, and they're not studying, they're not getting their classes work done, that kind of thing. And Scotty can come in, he can smell those pretty quickly.
Great.
So kids know that, hey, the school is not a place for that kind of activity.
Well, I want you to know this is a hidden legal issue blind spot, because what would happen if we didn't have Crime Stoppers? It'd be harder to solve crimes. And I might be a victim of a crime someday, and I might need you guys to find out information to solve the crime. And so I think we should pay more attention to Crime Stoppers. We have to take a break. We'll be right back.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquart, brought to you by the Marquart Law Firm. You can learn more at marquartlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquart helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.